is Sisank. I am from CSMB. My roll number is 21 BQ1A42B7. The topic I want to discuss about is differences between for loop in C and for loop in Python. For loop in C executes a block of code or statements repeatedly until a specified expression is evaluated to be false. But for loop in Python iterates a block of code over a sequence. Now let's see the syntax of for loop in C in detail. For loop in C starts with the word for, initial value, semicolon, expression, semicolon, modification. And here we need to write the statements. Statement should be enclosed within the curly braces. Now let's see an example. Let's declare a integer variable I. Now for, let's say I is equal to 1 semicolon, I less than or equal to 5 semicolon, I. Now what's going to happen is the variable I is going to be assigned with the integer value 1, and expression is going to be evaluated. 1 less than or equal to 5, the expression is true, so I value 1 is printed, and I value is the control is sent to this modification part, and I value becomes from 1 to 2. Now expression is again evaluated, 2 less than or equal to 5, still true, so the 2 will be printed. This process continues until the expression is evaluated to be false. When I becomes 6, 6 less than or equal to 5 becomes false, so the loop terminates. So what I am going to get here is the numbers from 1 to 5. Let's run this. As you can see, we got the values from 1 to 5 printed right here. Let's see the for loop in Python right now. The for loop in Python iterates over a sequence. It can be a string, it can be a tuple, it can be a dictionary, it can be a list. Let's create a list. Now right here I assigned the values 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 to the list LT. Now when I write this line for I in LT, print I, first I gets the first value from the list 1, and this one is going to be printed. During second iteration I gets the second value from the list, so 2 is going to be printed. So I will get all the elements in the list printed line by line, as you can see right here. Now we can do this in another way using range function. Range function takes 3 arguments: start, stop and step value. Step value means how much the value needs to be modified. If you do not specify any step value, the default step value is +1, and if you do not specify any starting value, the default starting value is 0. End value is not optional, you need to compulsory give it. Now if I write print I, we will get the same output from 1 to 5 numbers. This is how for loop works in Python. Let's check out some more differences. In C, the evaluation of expression decides the execution. As you can see right here, we got the output from 1 to 5. It stopped right at the 5 because when I became 6, 6 was less than or not less than or equal to 5. This expression became false, so the loop terminated. So for loop in C depends on this expression value, where in Python, in order for loop to terminate, the sequence we give to the for loop needs to be exhausted. Right, you can see here there are only 5 elements in this list and I specified this list. So only five elements present in the list got printed. So for loop in Python depends on the size of the list or the sequence we gave it. In C, the modification of variable is very necessary. We need to tell to increase it or not. We need to definitely increment or decrement the variable. Otherwise, an infinite loop will be formed. Let's see right here. If I do not give this part, no error will be generated. If I leave this free, but what will happen is I value will not be modified. I value will be 1 forever. So 1 is always less than or equal to 5. This expression will be true for so infinity loop will break printing infinite ones in the console. We don't want this to happen, so we need to definitely modify the looping variable. But in Python we it's not necessary, because if you give a sequence, it automatically during next rotation it will search for next element. If you use range function and if you not give step value, it will take default step value as 1. So it is not necessary in Python to give modification for variable, because it has a default value to continue. Now for loop in C, it allows us to write efficiently a loop that needs to be executed a specific number of times. We can give whatever condition we want for the for loop in C. But in Python, we cannot give any conditions. We either have to iterate over a sequence, or we need to increase the step value and wait until the stop value comes. So in C, we can be more flexible with this for loop. In for loop in C, it iterates until the given condition is false. I have already shown you that until the condition becomes false, loop will iterate. And for loop in Python iterates until the given sequence is exhausted. Now let's see an example. Now let's try to print sum of n natural numbers using for loop in C and Python. Let's see how differs. In Python, we need to take the input first everywhere, the number of elements we need, the upper bound value. Let's take 50, sum of first 50 natural numbers. Right here for in, we need to use the range function right here, range of 1 comma, here the stop value which we give when the looping variable comes to there, it terminates immediately. So if you want 50 to be included also, we need to give 51. First we need to declare sum. Sum is equal to 0. I in range of 1 comma. If I give 50 right here, 50 will not be included because the loop terminates when I reaches 50. So we need to give 51 in order for 50. Now comma 1 is not mandatory. The default value is 1 for step increase. If we not give 1 right here, it will start from 0. It's not a big deal because it is sum. 0 doesn't affect sum. If we give like this, from 1 to 51, the numbers, every number will be added to s. Now if we print s, we will get the output. In Python, that's the way, but in C, we need to do a little different. Comma s is equal to 0. Comma. Now we need to take the input. Now here we can flexibly give the condition less than or equal to, so we can write, and we don't need to write n plus 1 here. And now need to be incremented every time. This is very important, otherwise loop will not break. Now we need to add the logic sum is equal to sum plus c. After that we need to print the answer. Right here what will happen is, first we will take the input of n, s will be 0, and integer looping variable is assigned with 1. Now 1 will be less than or equal to whatever n we will give. So the loop, this statement will be executed and sum will be modified. It will be modified until I becomes n plus 1. When I becomes, for example we give I 50, when I becomes 51, this loop will be terminated. Let's run this code. Sorry, semicolons. Let's run this code. Now it is expecting input from us. Let's give the input as 50. We get the answer as 1275. See match. So that's it everyone. Let's discuss briefly about everything we learned till now. For loop in C executes a block of code based on the specified condition until the condition becomes false. But the for loop in Python executes a block of code over a sequence. Here evaluation of expression decides on the evaluation of code depends on the expression whether it is false or true. But here no expression is evaluated because it iterates over a sequence. It iterates until the sequence is exhausted. Modification of looping variable is important in C, for loop in C, unless you want to get an infinity loop. It is not necessary because there is a default modification value for looping variables in Python. Again, C, in C with for loop we can write more flexible because the condition we can write more flexibly, but in Python we just have to either get a sequence or use the range function. That's it everyone. Thank you for listening.